Howdy Capricorn. I've got your cards already shuffled up and ready to lay out. Um, there is a storm rolling in right now, so I apologize if there's any noise, but maybe it'll kind of help accentuate anything that comes through. I'm using the Thoth deck for you, the Aleister Crowley deck. If any of you guys are curious and like the imagery, I think it's a very beautiful set of cards. I switched from my Rider-Waite today because for whatever reason that deck feels depleted. Maybe those of you who read tarot cards yourselves can relate, and if so, maybe share what your thoughts are on that, because I don't really understand where that comes from. I mean, I can kind of maybe conceptualize it if I thought hard enough, but we're not going to do that right now. Significator card. We have the Ten of Wands, which in this deck is oppression. And kind of off the bat, as I was shuffling your cards, I was kind of getting the sense that Capricorn has been burying themselves in their work or in their tasks, or just like generally keeping very busy. I did do another reading that just didn't feel complete earlier for you. And there was kind of this running theme of like burying yourself in busy work, whether or not it's I mean, I'm sure it's practical work that needs to be done, but it's also you're filling every empty space with it. That's kind of the impression I'm getting. Covering the Ten of Wands, covering you, the significator, we have strength. Yeah, I'm still getting really familiar with this deck, so I'm going to have to stare at it. This is the Six of Wands, Nine of Wands. Oh my gosh. Y'all, it's been a day. Which in this deck is called Strength, and it's in reverse. The Nine of Wands is the third decan of Sagittarius, so that's going to be in your 12th house. I don't think there's anything actively transiting your 12th house right now, but you do have Jupiter and Mars opposite in Gemini, kind of looking at that house and activating it in some ways. So maybe there's that, like there's a sense of bearing witness to your 12th house, so bearing witness to those parts of yourself that are deeply hidden, that only really come out when you're absolutely by yourself. Those deep-seated fears and maybe old losses. And so to counterbalance that, you're really focused on that 6th house, Gemini, like really burying yourself in the day-to-day tasks, the mundane matters, which is easy enough for Capricorn to do anyway, but it feels like there's more of a sense of need to do so because you don't want to look at that 12th house stuff. It's a little too busy in there for your comfort. Yeah, and I said last decan of Sagittarius. It's the middle decan. I was sitting here staring at the cards, like trying to get a message, and then it was like, that was wrong. But yeah, the general sense is that there's an emphasis on that 12th house. Crossing you, we have the Six of Wands, victory. Maybe it'll focus, maybe it won't. Got it. A lot of wands. Just like a lot of fiery, like focused, busy energy. Like you're juggling a lot of projects, and you're doing it well. Like you're accomplishing things, you're getting stuff done. You're definitely making steps towards something that you want to get, and maybe you've already attained it, like you've already gotten it. You're in general sense of of having harvested is not the word that I'm trying to get, but it's the only one that's coming to mind, where you've put the work and the effort towards something and you've got to a place where you can maybe, I don't even think sitting back is the right term. I'm going to keep flipping cards and see if we can expand on this. We have the Four of Swords at the base of your reading, which is the card that was actually your significator in the first reading I did for you that I never posted. Yeah, so this to me is very much like you're maybe in a state now where you can sit back a little bit. Not necessarily that's what you're doing, but it's available to you because you've already done it. You've done something. You've gotten to a place where you can do that. I don't know, these cards are just, there's so many voices. I'm not hearing voices necessarily, but I mean like the impressions I'm getting are really, they're all kind of clamoring. Maybe that's what you feel like. Like that's what having the eye on your 12th house looks like. Like the eye of Sauron, like, is focused right there. You know, Mars beaming across the way with his laser. And you're like, no, you're trying to grab like a glass, like a mirror to kind of redirect it back into the 6th house. Like, no, we're going to focus on this stuff. Like, here's a schedule, 8 to 5, you know, maybe now it's going to be 5 to 5, like 12 hours. You know, you're willing to put in overtime because you don't want to be back in this 12th house. Redirect that laser beam back. Is kind of what I'm getting. Behind you, you have the 6 of discs, which in this deck is called Success. So another card of success, another card of victory. It's another 6. Sort of attainment, material manifestation of your efforts. Since it is in reverse and it is in the past, I'm almost wondering if something didn't work out in the past. Oh my god, like it was spiky. It was like something burst open. Some sort of situation like kind of did not end well. And I'm feeling like this was recent past. I'm not like talking like necessarily like 12th house, like young childhood past. I'm thinking like maybe in the past few months, maybe the past year, I think especially, but some sort of situation unfolded where there was conflict of some sort, where things were just kind of like blown open and scattered, and now you've been in like a place where you're picking up the pieces and being very diligent about it, really focusing on picking up the pieces rather than on the situation itself, maybe. And which is understandable. Capricorn isn't necessarily comfortable navigating emotional spaces, and that's a big part of this, whatever happened, I think. It's a little bit telling to me that I'm getting these impressions and there's not even any water on the spread yet that I can see, because I haven't turned over all the cards yet. But some element of not even loss. I don't think that's it. Let's see. At the crown of your reading, we have the Crown Queen of Wands in reverse. The first thing that came to mind when I saw it was misdirected passions. I think it's interesting that there's a jaguar beside her, or what I'm perceiving to be a jaguar. It might be just like a cheetah or something. Like somebody lashed out. somebody reacted to a situation, and it might have been you, it might have been somebody else, but somebody exploded and blew open a situation. And since you've been kind of like picking up the pieces, there hasn't been any real reflection on it, and I think that's very much what this Four of Swords, sorry, card is kind of calling out. It's that sort of retreat. It's in this deck it's called truce. I mean, like, coming to terms with the fact that something happened and trying to smooth things over by either removing yourself from the situation, communicating about it, and coming to some form of understanding that allows you guys to kind of move forward cordially, or at least professionally, however that is manifesting. Before you, we have the Eight of Cups in reverse, which in this deck is insolence. To me, this is almost like this situation, whatever explosive situation this was, could have been avoided. Like, it was like almost deliberate how you or somebody else walked into this situation. Like, there were warning signs before it happened. You know, warning signs that were more than enough to give alert to you or just to whoever this was that they need to redirect. You know, I'm hearing abandon ship. Like, I don't. Maybe it is that dramatic, but I think. I think it is that dramatic. Like, it should have been like cut and dry. Like, no, gone, bye. Turn and go a totally different direction. I'm curious to know if it has like anything to do with like a relationship. I don't see any relationship cards necessarily yet. For the energy around you, the current situation, we have the Aeon in reverse. This is like the world card. Like, everything's gone topsy-turvy. Everything's upside down. I think because of this situation, you've been trying to embody like this pillar of strength mentality where you're effectively directing energy into stuff that needs to be done, into like the cleanup project, or into Operation kind of keep my head down and get busy again. But nothing is the same. Like, it feels like you're elsewhere. Like, you're so distracted by the implications of what happened, or by an upwelling of emotions that the situation has brought up, that you can't even be present with the busy work. And so I think your tactic initially was to just get even more busy, throw yourself into even more activities and have more projects, and it's not working. And that could also be why this Six of Wands, this victory card, is crossing you, because it's that energy of, yeah, maybe you're getting stuff done, but you're not really getting stuff done. You're getting things done without getting anything done, is another phrase. For the people around you, you have the Empress in reverse. Maybe it'll focus. Probably not. um, That's really weird. I've never gotten this connection before, but like something about the way these cards are lined up, it was just like miscarriage. Hopefully that's not the case for you guys. But maybe that's like a metaphor for the situation. Like there was a lot of time and energy spent into nurturing and caring for a specific seed that was planted, whether it was like an idea, professional idea, or a relationship, maybe like an actual baby, I don't know. And then it was like lost. Like the wheel turned and whatever that was just didn't fit in the next turning, in the next cycle. It was completely omitted from the story. Written out. That's kind of intense. Hopefully it's nothing so dramatic, but yeah, and it's really difficult for you right now to find any form of comfort from the people around you. I think because of this situation, you just feel really kind of spiky. Like, you don't touch me. Don't even look at me. Like, I don't want to be perceived right now. Just let me work. Let me work and just work. I just gotta work. I just gotta keep things together. I just gotta keep doing this. And then you're just like working, but not working. Like you're not focused because you can't focus. There's too much that just happened and you haven't processed. And so maybe you're getting a lot of signs along the way, like the universe is like literal road signs in front of you every step of the way, reflecting all of this back to you. I'm getting like the sense of like demeaning the symbol. I don't really know how to word this. Seeing the divine implications of everything that's being reflected back to you so obviously and so readily, like all this like really like magical sort of synchronicity happening, and you being in such a state that you're like not willing to accept it, and so it's just like you're belittling it in your mind, like it's nothing, like it doesn't matter, like it's not significant, it doesn't have any meaning, because you don't want it to, because if that's the case, then the floodgates will open, and then you won't be in control. You won't be able to work. But are you working now? Like, doing things just to do things doesn't mean that you're actually doing anything. The real work requires all of you to be present. And right now I feel like you're not all there. You're not all present. You're scattered. I heard depressed, confused, discombobulated. Your whole world has been turned upside down. For your hopes and fears, we have the moon. I love this card. I love all of these cards. This deck is beautiful, like I said. We got the moon. Maybe it'll focus. Let's see if I can put that point there. Okay. Yeah, you see that? Interesting. Okay, so these waves in the back, I recently like kind of briefly glanced at a video that was talking about sound waves. There's a term for this, but when you have two equal frequencies being channeled directly at each other at like specific rates, they create like this not necessarily like a third wave, but like this other waveform between them where there's a point that doesn't move, it doesn't change, and so there's been like experiments with this sort of waveform where you can literally have like levitating objects between these two sonic sources. It's also like the same technology that's like in use for like noise canceling headphones these days, where it like uses the frequencies that are around you, like outside in your environment, and gives like the opposite frequency in order to cancel out the sound so you can't hear it. And I think that's relevant in this case because it's almost like you're not listening. You're intentionally noise canceling. And maybe you heard that thunder. I don't know. That was a little emphasis. You're deliberately tone deaf to the messages that are being given to you by the world around you, by the divine, whatever name you give it. And there's also this emphasis on cycles generally, where this shakeup happened, whatever it was happened. And you trying to throw yourself into work, into distracting yourself, while it may be a form of like processing things, it's also not the season. This is such a running theme for all the readings I've been putting out. It's like it's not the season for this. This is like the season for like listening, reflecting. I mean, Mercury is going retrograde in like, what's today? Today's the 2nd? I think like 2 days. Like late at night on the 4th for us in America is when it stations. And so this buildup is like a slowdown. Like this buildup to the station is always like a slowdown, and it gets really frustrating because the energy feels like it can't move. And there's so many obstacles in the way, and it gets really confusing, and mistakes happen, and yada yada yada. Could be that in your busy work, you're coming up to this point where it's just like you're starting to get frustrated because you feel like you're doing without doing anything. You're working for its own sake, but you're not actually working. You know, that running theme. And now you're seeing that, and you're frustrated because you want to be able to be doing things, but you need to process everything that just happened and stop running from it, because it's just going to keep showing up every which way that you look. You know, throwing yourself into a new project or into a new person isn't going to help you before you help yourself. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with throwing yourself into a new project or into a new person, but that work needs to be done. For your final outcome, we have the 7 of Wands, which in this deck is Valor. I think that's the last decan of Leo. Leo, for you, if I'm remembering right. Oh my god, I have to see the wheel in my head. Give me a second. Yeah, Leo is your 8th house, right? Cancer, yeah. Leo. So 8th house, that's being kind of activated because of this Mercury retrograde cycle. I mean, Mercury's in Virgo currently, but it's going back to, I think, about 21 degrees of Leo at the end of its retrograde. And could be that there's like an element of, well, shared resources. So let's see. Let's go back to this blow-up situation. Let's say it was something happened at work. I'm just saying that because of discs. We'll go over some different examples, but something happened at work. There was a fight. There was a reactive explosion, and it just kind of like scattered the team, or it scattered the work that needed to be done, and everything's needing to kind of come back together again. But in order to do so, the pieces need to be re-examined and maybe even like reshaped. I'm hearing reshaped, like if it was like a machine that blew apart, some of the pieces are bent or warped in some way, and they need to be fixed, like twisted back into shape, polished, buffed. Dents need to be, pressed. I'm not even sure how they get dents out. Pressed, and then the machine needs to be oiled and then reassembled. Like, this is that period of time. If it was like a relationship, try to apply that metaphor. If it was like a miscarriage, I really hope it wasn't. But if we're going to run with that analogy that popped up earlier, it could be that it very obviously had tremendous impact on the relationship with the two parents involved and maybe blew them apart. And there's been like this discussion or emphasis on considering shared resources, like considering how the pieces fit together, how the pieces work together, the co-workers, how they function together, the partners, the lovers, like how they fit together, and are we gonna live in your house or mine, sort of thing. Like, how are we gonna divide these bills up, or how are we gonna divide the workload up in a way that's equal for everybody. Yeah, and there's a lot of like fire and a lot of Mars. So I really think that like 6th, 12th house activation going on with Mars right now is really relevant to whatever this story is. Could have been like an acute health problem with Mars in your 6th house. It's leading to hospitalization, 12th house. The miscarriage, like, I feel like that metaphor, that story, that interpretation of the story can somehow be relevant to whatever the situation is, as long as you're able to distill it down. Yeah, I'm invested in this. Like, I want to know more, and I want to give you like some clarity about like how you can move forward from this. I know your final outcome was the 7 of Wands. This to me is like consolidating, working together. Bringing all these pieces back together again, bringing these co-workers back together again, bringing the relationship back together again, for a shared goal, a shared purpose, closure, finishing the project. Because as it stands right now, it's like unfinished, or it's obviously broken apart. Like, it needs to be fixed before you can move on into something new, which is kind of why I was saying it's not really a good idea to like jump into a new project or a new relationship, because you have something else that you need to work on first. There are lines that need to be drawn, promises that need to be upheld. I'm not really sure if this is relevant to you guys. Hopefully you're getting something from it. But yeah, consolidating, coming together so you can finish this thing, and then you can decide at the end if you're gonna go your separate ways. That's totally fine. But it needs to be discussed, it needs to be analyzed, and it needs to be fixed. Don't leave it like that. And you have the Princess of Swords. I just drew an extra card just for a little bit more clarity. And this, I don't know, it's probably just like the smoke, the dark clouds underneath her. But it was like giving me the impression of like somebody like falling out of a burning plane. Like you were trying to get somewhere and then the plane exploded and now you're just like free falling. But while you're free falling, you're like using a calculator and calculating like these really obscure and irrelevant equations, just to keep your mind from thinking about the fact that you're falling, when you could be thinking about ways to, I don't know, maybe you have like specific clothes on you can use to make like a makeshift parachute. Not that that's like necessarily practical or realistic, but you know, it's like there's a problem, and instead of facing it, you're looking at something else. I think that's the crux of the reading. So face the problem first. Fix the problem first. Consolidate your resources, focus your energy where it needs to be going, instead of, I heard spread eagle, instead of like fanning out in every other direction but that one direction. Yeah, I think that's what we've got. The cards went quiet after that. Wish you the best, Cap. Hang in there. Y'all are strong. Y'all are powerful. I look up to you guys a lot. Be good.